One of the most common mistakes with conversion rate optimization and growth marketing is that people become obsessed with testing things that are very tiny, very isolated, very insignificant. And I want to highlight a few examples of these. One is related to email marketing, when you're testing things like the time of day or the day of the week. Now, in some isolated cases, timing is critical, such as when you're doing event marketing, something like that. But in most cases, it doesn't really matter. The reason is because there are other factors in email marketing that are much more worthy of consideration, such as what is the offer that you're marketing in the emails? Are you providing value? Are you targeting the right audience? And there's a second component to email marketing that is a trap that a lot of people fall into, and it's testing what the program enables you to test. So, for example, a lot of email programs will only allow you to test one email versus the other. So it's an A/B test at the email level. But really what you want to be able to do is test the entire email strategy. So it's the entire sequence of emails that you want to test against another entire sequence, both of which use different strategies. Now, a third example is when we're talking about websites. It's easy to say, okay, we're going to change one little call to action on the homepage, or we're going to change an image here, an image there. But really what you want to be testing is more macro level things. It's not the individual page that you're interested in, or excuse me, the little elements on the page. It's more the page entirety. It's the entire website session. It's not these kind of nitpicky little things. Because what's going to happen when you start just focusing on isolated little assets, whether it's an email or an element on a page, is that, yeah, you might get a slight lift in your conversion rate, but it's never going to be significant enough relative to bigger strategic changes that you're making. So if we go to an example with Google Optimize. So Google Optimize is one of the cheapest, easiest ways to get involved in A/B testing with websites. They have a number of different options for your testing. So there's the standard A/B test where you're testing elements on the page. So they're showing, for example, this blue section versus this red section. But my go-to for Google Optimize with testing is not what they're calling an A/B test. It's a redirect test where you're sending people to a completely different web page. And that's what I've done here with this test. And what I did was I created a whole new homepage with different positioning, different messaging, a different image, some dramatic changes, and comparing half the traffic going to the original and half the traffic going to the variant. And you can see here that the conversion rate was actually worse. So the new variant performed worse than the status quo. So what we ended up doing was going with remaining with the homepage that existed currently. Now on the email side, I want to show you an example, and this is an automation that's been set up in ActiveCampaign, which is this program that I've used for automated email sequences. And you can see that there's a sequence that's been set up with delays of 2 days between emails and some very informative emails that go out. But the fundamental problem here is that the only way to do A/B testing currently within this program is at the individual email level. But that isn't really it's never going to have a large scale impact because we're just talking about emails in isolation. And when we're getting into more sophisticated conversion rate optimization, what we're interested in is nurturing flows overall, strategies overall, more macro level changes, not just did this individual email generate results or not, because it's very rare that you're able to just do one little asset like an email, push it out and get a huge impact on your business. So often what you need to do when you're approaching growth marketing with this mindset is you need to stop relying on the built-in testing capabilities within whatever program you're using, whether it's an advertising program, an email program, a website program, etc. And what you need to do is you need to start doing the testing yourself. And the way you do that is you take your list of audiences, your list of emails, the list of people you're targeting, for example, you put that into Excel and you say, okay, I'm going to split this group into two different groups randomly. So I'm going to randomly assign 500 people to group A, 500 people to group B. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take group A and put them into this sequence. And I'm going to take audience B and put them into a different sequence. And then what I'm going to do is look at the results in at the end of the quarter or at the end of the month and see which funnel produced the most pipeline revenue or sales or whatever kind of KPI you're measuring. So here you're doing the testing. You're not relying on the capabilities within the program. You're actually taking responsibility instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to A/B test this one individual email. Here is an example of a program that allows us to do the level of testing that we actually want, and that is the Lemlist. Lemlist is a cold email tool. And what we can see here is that there is an option to do A/B tests at the individual email level. You can see here, email A, email B. And there we can test little things like the subject line, the personalization elements, the content, etc. But really the big changes are going to be the sequences. So testing sequence A versus sequence B. And so, for example, something you may want to test is the Salesforce 3-2-1 strategy. So Salesforce has the strategy for email marketing where they're saying that you should start with basically the bottom of the funnel, your people that are going to respond to your hard offer, so something like talk to sales. And then the next email should be something a little bit upper funnel. So something maybe like a webinar request. And then the third type of email you're going to send is something that would be more appealing to people that are cold leads. So maybe informative thought leadership or something like that. So it's the reverse of what most people do. What you could do is you could say, okay, sequence A is going to do that. We're going to start with the bottom of the funnel. And then sequence B, we're going to do what most people typically do, which is start with kind of upper funnel thought leadership, then get a little more detail with case studies, then get into aggressive pushes to get people into a sales conversation. Another approach you could take with high-level A/B testing with emails is you could have sequence A be kind of your standard marketing type emails that are talking about the benefits of the product, talking about the problem that you solve, etc. And then an entire another sequence where you're looking at individual emails, one-to-one emails coming directly from the account executive or the SDR or even the CEO. You could use the CEO's face and name and see which one generates the most conversions, the more personalized emails or the marketing type emails. Another thing that you can test in the same umbrella of what I'm discussing here is more graphic emails. So there's kind of an assumption right now that text-based emails perform better, and they do in terms of deliverability, but people are visual. They don't necessarily want to read blocks of text. So you could test graphic-centric emails versus text-based emails.